Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into the absolute ultimate high-stakes game of evolutionary survival. We're going to look at exactly how animals manage to conquer nature's toughest, most unforgiving environments. It's a game where the rules are strictly set by nature, and honestly, the only options are to change or simply fade away entirely. Think about it for a second. Why don't we ever see polar bears wandering the streets of India? Or, kangaroos hopping through a dense rainforest? I mean, it sounds totally absurd, right? But the answer to that question actually defines the very rules of life on Earth. Animals are strictly bound by geographical limits. Extreme environments demand highly specific, specialized tools just to stay alive from one day to the next. So, the answer to that geographic puzzle is adaptation. And we need to be clear here, this isn't just some casual lifestyle choice. It is a harsh, non-negotiable biological imperative. If a species cannot adapt to its specific environment, it dies out, period. The animals that can adapt are the ones that actually survive long enough to pass on those winning genetic traits to the next generation. And what exactly are these animals adapting to? Well, it's their habitat. But you have to think of a habitat as way more than just a home. It's a really complex matrix of rigorous selective pressures. Things like soil, water, temperature, sunlight, and how much food is available are constantly testing a species. Every single physical trait an animal has is basically a biomechanical solution to those exact environmental pressures. To really wrap our heads around how this ultimate survival game works, we're going to explore four major environmental frontiers today. First, conquering the dry land. Then, surviving the deep blue. Third, the amphibian double life. And finally, ruling air and trees. Let's kick things off with Section 1, Conquering the Dry Land, looking at our terrestrial problem solvers. Living on solid Earth forces terrestrial animals to evolve some pretty incredible biological tools. I'm talking about highly developed sense organs and incredibly strong legs just to run from predators. Let's look at two absolute extremes here. In the brutal, punishing heat of the desert, you've got the camel. It uses thick skin and broad footpads to navigate loose sand without sinking, all while storing fat in a specialized hump. Now, flip to the opposite end of the spectrum. In the freezing cold, animals like polar bears and reindeer rely on thick fur to conserve heat, and they use stark white coloring to seamlessly merge with the snow and hide. It's basically two totally different environmental puzzles, resulting in two brilliant biological solutions. And that actually brings us to a staggering number, 10. Get this, because of those incredible desert adaptations, a camel can survive up to 9 or 10 days without taking in a single drop of water or any food. Its body is literally a hyper-efficient metabolic engine built specifically for an environment where resources are practically zero. But what happens when you can't just power through? Well, some animals cheat extreme, shifting seasons by simply hitting the pause button on their entire metabolism. Hibernation allows animals like bears and rats to sleep right through the dead of winter, living off fat reserves they packed away during times of plenty. Now, estivation is the exact same brilliant evolutionary logic, but applied to extreme heat and drought. Creatures like certain snails, beetles, and land crabs enter this profound state of inactivity just to survive until the climate finally cools down. And it's not just animals with legs that have dry land figured out. Take snakes, for example. Their scales are a beautiful example of a multifunctional adaptation. Yes, they provide the friction needed to crawl and move around, but crucially, they also lock in moisture. This prevents the snake from just drying up and dehydrating in those harsh, arid climates. Moving right along, let's dive into Section 2, Surviving the Deep Blue, all about aquatic adaptations. Water is a fundamentally different physical environment than air, which forces a radical shift in how animals extract oxygen. While fish evolved gills to pull dissolved oxygen directly out of the water around them, whales and dolphins are total evolutionary rule benders. They actually returned to the ocean over millions of years of evolution, but they kept their terrestrial lungs. So this means they spend their entire lives in the sea, but they're forced to continually breach the surface just to take a breath. Now, actually moving around in a heavy, dense medium like water, that requires highly specialized biomechanics. From a fish's streamlined fins to a turtle's paddle-like feet, aquatic limbs are heavily optimized for propulsion. And birds totally get in on the action too. Ducks use webbed feet to glide effortlessly across the surface. Meanwhile, wading birds, like cranes and flamingos, evolved these amazing stilt-like legs paired perfectly with long, spear-like beaks so they can strike at fish hiding just under the water's surface. Which brings us to Section 3, The amphibian double life, or as I like to call it, cheating the system. So, if marine mammals seem like rule benders, amphibians are the ultimate biological rule breakers. On land, creatures like frogs, toads, and salamanders use lungs just like we do, but plunge them into the water and they completely switch their biological machinery, absorbing oxygen directly through their moist skin. When you combine that with limbs specially adapted for swimming, you're looking at creatures that are true masters of two completely alien habitats. Finally, let's look at our last frontier in Section 4, ruling air and trees, where animals literally defy gravity. Taking flight requires overcoming the relentless, deadly pull of gravity, and it's really not just about slapping wings on an animal. It requires a complete anatomical overhaul. To achieve true flight, birds evolved hollowed-out bones to shed absolutely crucial body weight. They paired that with highly aerodynamic body shapes that effortlessly slice right through the air. Honestly, every single inch of an aerial animal is a masterclass in biomechanical engineering. Now, for arboreal animals living high up in the canopy, gravity is just as deadly of a threat. Survival up there requires exceptional spatial awareness and really specialized grip. Monkeys use elongated limbs and prehensile tails to swing seamlessly through the branches. Squirrels use their highly adapted forelimbs to manipulate food while maintaining perfect balance. And surprisingly, some animals even feature spines on their bodies that just act as an emergency brake, literally stopping them from slipping down tree trunks. So nature is incredibly resourceful. It all comes down to that one unbreakable rule: adapt or die. As our global environments inevitably shift and change around us, it really makes you wonder, what extreme physical adaptations might humans eventually need to survive the habitats of tomorrow? We might be the ones changing the environment right now, but at the end of the day, the environment always dictates the terms of survival. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep questioning this fascinating world around us.